Hey, thanks for tuning in for my Wednesday stream. I had to play around with my mic a little bit and setup because I got new monitors. So you might even notice that there's a little bit more real estate in my desktop because I upgraded and bought some LG, whatever they're called, 32 inch. So now my desktop is like the 2500 by whatever size. But that also meant I had to readjust everything on my desk because they're huge and my mic placement. So hopefully this turns out right and like my webcam is awkwardly up higher. But thanks for hanging out and joining in. Going to be working on not screwing up my Twitch dashboard, but working on phpstan-drupal. I don't even know where I'm at right now. Received some pull requests. I'm going to go through that really quick. Add PHP unit to the suggested packages list. This fixes number 22. Merged after 282. So let's look at 282. Let's see. All right. This fixes 263 and removes PHP deprecation rule. Was this updated? So they removed the deprecation rules from the suggesting. And we need to add that. Oh, this config needs to be added. So we need to revert this. So first, let's do get diff. What is GitHub 228? Before I purge that, issues 228. Add testing. Okay, so there's a core bug, and I was trying to fix it using some improvements in our reflection, but that didn't seem to fix it if I recall right. Let me just hit play. And this should crash. Yep, cannot assign empty string to string offset. No matter what we do here, it's going to be broken. It's a core bug in phpstan. So let's go git checkout main. So git pull. Let's do composer install. So I have composer 2.2, and with composer 2.2, we have there's a new like security setting that decides if a plugin is allowed to run or not. And I'm going to click yes. And we'll do, let's see, if nothing. So it's going to be considered out of sync because the config has now been added. So let's just do composer update. We're going to do just -- lock because we know that so let's see here. The lock file is not up to date with the latest changes in composer.json. What that means is the content hash. So if you see that and you know you don't actually have anything that needs to be updated, you can just run this -- lock and it will update the content hash for the lock file. And that usually solves a bunch of those problems. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and commit this to git diff. Git commit AV, add allow plugins for composer 2.2. Let's just push that. And let's review these changes. How can we see? Can I do it just from right in here? Applying suggestions on deleted lines is not supported. Well, let's check out this. So GitHub PR check out. And open the composer.json. So we're just going to copy that. And let's see what the description is. Packages. That's literally the description. So perfect. What I'll do is get status, get diff. Let's do a git add composer, git amend. I don't know what git am is, but it is starting to conflict with my alias for git commit amend and causing this weird like broken rebase. So that's not fun. I'm gonna drag OBS up. So I have my main monitor in normal mode, and then I have one of the 32-inch as a portrait mode on the right, and that's where I have OBS and the Twitch dashboard. I'm trying to figure out how to space all this right now. But of course, now my internet is dropping the frames. All right, so let's refresh, see the changes. That looks right. All right, allow plugins. Why didn't phpstan extension installer run? That's not added to here? So it's not. I'll have to add that. All right. Sorry, apparently my internet is unstable. It's fine until I start streaming, so I wonder if I need to upgrade my internet. Because Spectrum just hates me apparently when it comes to streaming lately. I'm not sure. So let's do a squash and merge. And did that fix this PR? Sure did. Files changed. Again, this one has the same problem. So let's check out main. Let's do a pull. Get up here, check out 283. Get rebase off of main. We'll fix the rebase. That looks good. Get add composer. And get commit. Oh, get rebase. Continue. I screwed that up. Get log. All right. Do get push. Another force push. Let's go in. The main thing here was to make sure that we have suggests that say you should use the prophecy phpstan extension and PHP unit to have better static analysis when doing your Drupal code, because Drupal does use PHP unit and prophecy for mocking. So it'd be good to have those for your code, especially mostly when you're analyzing your tests. I know some folks do not analyze their tests, but you should. It's good practice too. Then again, most people don't have tests, so you can't scan what you don't have. All right. Now, one of the good questions is require. Let's go. So Drupal require phpstan-drupal. Locking. So phpstan 1.3 is being used and we're not having issues. That's one thing I wanted to look at is phpstan 1.3 was dropped today, which adds support for PHP 8.1 and PHP 8 enums and various things like that. I want to make sure we still worked with it, but it looks like we do. All right, looks like my internet has finally stabilized. So sorry for the drops that happened with that. And let's do a merge. All right, so that's caught up. This issue is closed. This is a core bug. Let's go triage some issues because I'm avoiding that pre-render callback like the plague. Document how contrib modules can define their own entity mapping configuration. So this was an interesting thing brought up by Alexander over at Open Social or Golgorilla. Yeah, Open Social. I'm sure that's what they go by now, not Golgorilla. On a way for projects to define their own entity mapping as phpstan extensions, basically, without being phpstan extensions. So phpstan extension installer will find packages that have this definition in their composer.json and then grab their configuration, which made me just realize that I do not have the phpstan extension installer in this project right now. So let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to do composer 1. I'll do composer update to get phpstan 1.3. And then I'm going to add the extension installer and just make sure that this will work as I expect it to. All right. So composer require, and this should be for dev because it's not a direct dependency. Yes, we want to allow it, so it's going to update. So now it added itself to this allowed plugins. And let's go look at, or actually if I were to run, I bet if I run phpstan, it's going to complain about having duplicate configurations. So I need to drop those. And it should scan just fine. So let's look at phpstan extension installer and source plugin. So what this ends up doing is creating a generated config based off all the extensions. And what I want to make sure is that it would source things correctly. So generate config, activate, uninstall, no op, get subscribe events. See, read the chat. Are there issues with calling create mock or get mock builder on interfaces? There shouldn't be. Calling that should always be done on an interface, like preferably is you should do get a create mock. The only problem is, let's see, PHP unit create mock. I never use create mock, or git mock builder. I always use prophecy to prophesize. But it's the same difference. It's the same difference. Stubs. So test stub. This create stub method will return. So yeah, the intent with mocking is that you're usually mocking not necessarily the concrete class, but always the interface. So you should be able to do it. And I know Drupal core has lots of examples of that. Let's see. So process for install and update. Composer, installation manager. Then we config. So composer, get repository manager, get local repository. So it goes through all. Oh, wait. Shoot. So it goes through all the local repositories in the packages. So this would be everything that's installed. If type is not, hold on. If type is not equal to phpstan extension and is not set extra phpstan. Darn it. So for each, let's see. Is this if not? It doesn't matter. So if it's not a phpstan extension and does not have that, it's continued. So it gets skipped over. So let's see. Running into issues the other day. It kept saying the interface or class didn't exist. So I guess it depends on. So usually if it says an interface doesn't exist, that means auto loading is broken. And I've done this before. Just the other day, obviously this isn't a Drupal code base, but I had the source directory, and then I had, so I couldn't get a plugin found or anything found, and that's because I had a second source directory. So I had source plugin instead of just source plugin. So usually if the PHP unit says that the interface is missing and autoloading is broken in Drupal, that's usually because of like a folder structure. That's really hard to know without seeing an example. Let's see. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is not going to be possible. This goes through each local package and skips ones that are not phpstan extension and do not have phpstan in the extras. That's a bummer. Let's see. No, not PHP. phpstan. Not PHP. Extension installer. Let's see. Issues must be honored also for root package. phpstan cannot be run. I don't understand this. Verbose logging. Those are the composer.json actions must be honored for the root package. When phpstan is added to composer.json, it will always apply. Currently, for the root project, all configs must be included in 2 locations. All right, they've got a wild setup that I don't quite understand. E2E, phpstan extension. I don't know. Okay, that's not solve it. Dump packages when verbose. Bump install phpstan extension also for root package. Oh, it's saying like if the root package is an extension itself. Got it. I think that's what it's saying. And if we look at the source, blame. I swear, I thought this would run on anything, but I could be wrong. Don't force the package type. Hold on. We'll work at the package type or, wait. Hold on. Do not force. It is best to set the composer package. I can't read logic correctly. So yeah, it does support it. I don't know how to read and statements. So if the package is not phpstan extension and the actually is not set, I can't read. So let's figure out. I want to document this, and where should I document it? We got discussions, which no one's actually using. I'm using them for release notes, actions, projects. What do I even have in the projects? I don't have a wiki. To just close these projects and not even use them. I really don't want to create the wiki. So I guess I could put it somewhere in here. Entity storage mappings. Yeah, I'll put it in there. Let me pop back to chat. Don't worry about bugging me. I do these with no exact plan, and I like answering questions and just hanging out. I was running phpstan with a phpstan-drupal setup, and it flagged my code as extending an internal class. But it didn't really have a knowledge article about why that is frowned upon or a proposal of a solution. That is actually a good question, and we add that in it's somewhere. Rules, hold on, classes. Uh-oh. Why? One second. Why is it saying that it's not scanning far? So it's added in here. And so we should probably provide better explanations. So let me do that. Let's add a new issue. Add documentation link for class extends internal class rule. We recently added this rule. When did we add that? Internal closed 28 days ago, which detects when code extends internal. What release was that? So I should be able to go to my Git and type in 248, which should show the merge request. And 15 branches. Show me the tags. That's the hash. I want to see create patch, show repository at revision. Open on GitHub. GitHub will tell me. Loading branch information. So 1.1.2 is when it was released. Let's put the PR in parentheses, released. And turns out that Drupal's at internal policy can be far reaching, such as forms. Yeah, I'm gonna cover like why it's frowned upon and what the better practice should be in just a second. I want to make sure I log this. So I gotta come up with a way to do documentation, and I guess I'm gonna just have to create the wiki on this. Internal. Okay. So, whoa, this baseline is huge. So Open Social found out that extending forms. Wait, even content entity delete form is marked internal? Well, that's just ridiculous at that point. You gotta be kidding me. Drupal internal code policy. Let's go find this actual policy. And internal API policy. Document internal APIs both explicitly. Let's get back to that too. Policy, then meta. Let's see. Let's get this documented so we can provide links, because I know in phpstan when you extend internal stuff, it provides a yeah, I didn't realize that every form was flagged as internal when we did this. Here is the policy on Drupal core and so controllers and form classes. These controllers are not part of the API unless it's been marked with an API tag. This is kind of ridiculous, as content entity delete form, which is constantly overridden, is not flagged as part of the API. And the baseline for Open Social has crashed. Brave. So yeah, I didn't know this. Let's see if I can actually explore this a bit more in the Drupal core. So if we were to go to tests, fixtures, Drupal core, lib, Drupal core, and let's just even search for @internal. Man, my browser better not crash because I don't want to retype that. So in this case, it's like @internal, this method is internal, but entity, reevaluate and streamline. So I guess it's marked internal because they want to like a to-do. But we like the one time we found out was even like the user module. Oh, great, it's loading. So like the user module, like the user form, is flagged as internal and not @API. So if we go to user, source, form, user login form, and the core response is, well, use a form alter. Well, I hate using form alters in every single way. So shoot. We need to. They have not been documented everywhere. Open sub issues. patch. This has been, that's just, that can wait. Entity handlers, plug in the strings. So we need to create, I'm not going to put this as kind of ridiculous because that's a bit rude and it's only the one form. We need to make a, I think this project needs to provide some kind of documentation on what to do when this rule is activated and what it means, providing more context than the policy itself. All right, I'm going to submit that issue, and hopefully this page will load so I can find their commit. No, it, okay, pull requests. They had to have done it in a pull request. Let's do at internal. Search. No, not compare. Whoa, 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 whoa. Pull request. Search. Closed 3 days ago. Let's see, this should be part of it. Remove obsolete errors. That's not it. Fix phpcs. Remove unrequired code. Policy. Remove deprecated code. Let's see. Well, the UI is just going to be a nightmare to go through. So I just want to track where they experience this. This file is huge. I already have it open. Blame. Should I get that to load again? So it'd be great if you can tell me what forms that got generated with Drupal console or Drush. Because what is it they use? They use the Drush ops Drush. There's one package that they use. So let's see. That Chai Tech. There we go. Code generator. Packages. So this is what everybody uses to generate code. And let's see. Templates. Let's see if I can just find. So I'm guessing it's when generating, so form, config, confirm form base. So I guess that's one thing too. Like if the form doesn't say base in it, then it's not considered part of the API. So it doesn't look like it's form, but I'm going to bet it's in the entity bundle class. Where's just entity? Content entity. All right, content entity, source, form, content entity form. That should not be it. That should be allowed. Yeah, that's allowed. So I'm not sure where it's happening, but we can support this. And why won't it index the far? Yeah, so content entity delete form is marked internal. That's the one. Okay. So that is showing up. As content entity delete form. So that's marked as internal because it's to be reevaluated in this issue. I'm gonna make a comment. I'm gonna comment on my issue about this copy reference. Sorry. The the most common occurrence is due to content entity delete form, which extends content entity form base, but the code generation tool used by console and drush extend content entity delete form. I think commerce always does as well. I'm sure we do in commerce. This class has been marked internal and is to be discussed in that Drupal core issue. All right, so I'm gonna paste the link into the chat. So I would say, in your case, add that to the ignored errors, like they have done in Open Social, which I can try to link to. So yeah, that's where. Oh, please let me copy this without freaking out. 9 days ago. Oh, well, that's why I couldn't find it, because it was in here. All right, let's. That I'm gonna link it. Related issue in Open Social. So I'll paste this link into the chat as well. I would just copy this item to your baseline. You can either add it to your baseline or you can add it to ignored errors. That's what I would do for now. And what I got to figure out is why my var will not be indexed. Inspections. Why isn't it not indexing phpstan? Acquire dev, core installers, page. Okay, just reorganized everything. I'm gonna commit this. Use phpstan extension installer. The one problem is I don't want to create a wiki. So I want to get back to the whole docs part because we have docs that need to be done for 281 and now 284. And I really hate putting docs in the wiki because I'm the only one that can edit the wiki. And it's not easy to share access because GitHub has a horrible collaboration model. So I'm going to have to add it as docs in the repo. Yeah, you know, and I never realized that that form was marked as internal. Let's see. The website. So they have, so like for phpstan, the website has all the docs, and that's inside the main repo. For Rector, it's in Rector source, and I think it gets copied over. Dev docs. No, not copied over. Where did they? But I'm just gonna I'm gonna create a docs folder, I think, and document that there, because the README is just gonna get out of hand. At least I'm gonna, not for this entity mapping, I'm gonna do it for this at internal. So what I'll do is let's make a new branch, and call it GitHub 281. And let's do a split preview. Yeah, so I would just ignore that error for now, because you know that it's okay. But with the phpstan, there's a way to provide a tip or a link. So if I were to go to source, rules, API, so in here, so it creates an error that gets extending blah, and then tip. So we can add a tip that says, if you're unsure of what this means, here's a link to create it. The code generator is this. I'll link it in the chat. So this is the shared library that both console and Drush use for generating code. I personally never use it because I'm that person who's weary about generated code, mostly because I am a stubborn person who has my opinions, and the generated code does not meet those opinions. So ignore me on that part. Or at least I feel like all the code that gets generated for Drupal is extremely opinionated. Like, I love in Laravel's, like, the make that creates like the scaffolded code, like that is great. But there's just a few things I just never really liked with some of the generated code in Drupal, and maybe I should just get over myself and use it, which is probably the case, because I just had to write a YAML plugin manager and hated having to like remember how to do all of it. So I'm just stuck in my ways. All right, so document how it can do its own entity mapping. So we have entity storage mappings, which is a heading 3. Deprecation testing. And actually, what I should be doing, if I don't like how the generated code is spit out, I should have like been providing pull requests. Is what I should have been doing. But I was using it for like scaffolding entities, and I think that's the worst part. Is right, entities create so much code, and I was deleting so much of the generated code because the templates just were overbearing. You know, it's like making like module.page for like some hook in it and just a few other things. It was doing a lot that was unnecessary, at least for what I was doing. Maybe it's because I know the entity system a bit more too. So that's also the one blend is generated code is great. It's like this weird curve. Like, you use it, it's like, oh, this saves me so much time. Then it gets to a point where it's like, it's in my way. And then you get to a happy part where you just, you know how to use it right. A lot of times I feel like it's just in my way because I know what I want to do. And then it creates more stuff that I have to delete than actually typing out. Providing entity type mappings for a contributed project for a contrib module. Contributed modules on Drupal.org. I will say contributed modules can provide their own mapping that can be automatically integrated, automatically registered with a user's code base when they use the phpstan extension installer. The extension installer scans the modules, installer scans installed packages composer.json for a value in extra phpstan. This will automatically bundle the defined include, which, what's the other option there? Why is it just the root message, just the root to be extensible? Shortest. Let's see. Get package. It has extra. Turn config. Self. Generate template file. I add this locally, which make it a lot easier to read. Plugin. So what does it do? Data. Export data into template file. Oh, I see. So extensions, install path extra includes oh, okay. So this allows you to find all the extra configuration. So we'll just, this will automatically bundle the defined include, which that contains an entity mapping configuration. What's the example I made here? So, for example, the paragraphs module could have the following. Let's see, what did I name it in here? Entity mapping.neon file. This is not right, and it's already been provided. We already have it, but it'd be nice to be able to remove it. Paragraph. Oh, we don't. So let's go get.drupal paragraph. Paragraphs. Source, entity, paragraph. So it would be just paragraph, paragraphs, entity. Does it have custom storage? No, it just has custom storage schema. So we can touch that and go to paragraphs type, namespace, get the ID, and this should definitely not have an overridden storage. Then in the composer.json for paragraphs, the entity mapping.neon would be provided as a phpstan include. Not JSON. That's when I could copy this. Actually, let's see. There better be a composer.json. Sweet. Extra. Now I'm going to copy paste. Save phpstan dictionary. Let's commit this. Add documentation or contrib entity mapping. This fixes 281. And what I should do while I'm at it, since I don't need to clone this down, let's see. GitHub PR create. Fixes 281. Submit. Maybe fixed by 285. Let's go ahead and let's create this file for paragraphs. Let's just see if anybody types anything about phpstan, fix and return. Sure, whatever. That's fine. Provide entity type, any type mapping for phpstan. Let's say for phpstan-drupal. Feature, hit the one at X, code with phpstan-drupal on the when did I refactor that? No, we don't need to say when. The phpstan-drupal package extension for phpstan allows defining entity types, allows defining information about any types to improve static analysis of Drupal code. Code, for instance, knowing what entity storage class is returned from the entity type manager and the entity class returned from create load methods. Using a configuration file and a definition in the composer.json, paragraphs can provide this information. There's no steps to reproduce. Resolution, create an entity mapping.neon file and register it in the composer.json for phpstan extension installer. The information will be picked up by phpstan extension installer. And let's do see this phpstan-drupal issue for additional context. All right, let's save it. That's finishing up, and I'll create an issue fork and do this all from the GitLab UI. All right, file changes. Provide contributed modules, provide blah blah blah, and scans installed composer.json. Paragraphs could provide this. All right, I think that will be good to go. So I'm here, web IDE. Let's make sure to use tabs. All right, so new file, entity, mapping, neon. Parameters, entity mapping. Right, now we need to edit the composer.json. And copy this extra. Go. Commit. Add phpstan paragraph. Stan Drupal paragraph mapping. Let's not start a new merge request. It's been committed. It's open. I need to add a testing instructions. This requires manual testing. This item, create a Drupal site, run code composer, require dev phpstan extension installer phpstan or glommen phpstan Drupal. Add paragraphs with composer require Drupal paragraphs. Actually, it's set up the issue fork as composer source. So what does that say? Composer, config, repository. What's the GitHub.com Drupal recommended project? Composer JSON. So we'll say it's one is show commands. Let's copy this git URL. All right, so run, create a Drupal site, require PHP stand. Tell it to use this. Add the VCS as a repository. Add paragraphs. I review code vendor PHP stand. Source generated config .php and verify paragraphs config is included. Analyze paragraphs code. Make sure it doesn't crash. So that's how I would test it. Let's merge. And I'm going to link. So that's fixed. I opened an issue to have this added to paragraphs. All right, so that documentation is done. And I forgot to pull stash, check out main, pull. Why is this pull taking forever? There we go. Get stash pop diff v. Use tabs for entity mapping.neon example. All right. So now I need to figure out why I can't get why my var is not being indexed. PHP storm index var. Without being able to index the var, this is kind of a really big pain. So we index avoid force reindexing. Let's do file. I don't want to restart. Let's try a different way. PHP clear index. All right, so clearing that is a nice little shortcut to clear the index, which will cause everything to be reprocessed. Can help clear out any bugs. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where to put that internal class extends internal rule. Let's see, we should have tests for that. Tests, source rules. All right, so we do have examples and we can verify that. We can add a list I guess what we need to do, what we should only link to the Drupal core policy if the source class is from Drupal core. So that's one thing too, is if you extend something at internal from a contrib module, that has a different policy. Or even a vendor, that is a different policy. It's just funny because Drupal core extends its own internal classes itself. So like modules inside Drupal core are violating the at internal itself, and I guess that's allowed because it's inside of core, even though it's like sub packages. Why won't this? Let me quit PHP Storm. Try to reopen it and see if that fixes it. I certainly hope it does fix it. Otherwise, I'm hosed. Let's see. I'm curious about how. Let's see. Composer JSON. How do they do it? Require. So it has require phpstan. I was wondering if maybe it had, a like require phpstan source and then require dev, but that's not the case. It's interesting. So it has an extension file and a rules. Indexing farce. Yes. All right. That's what I was looking for. And that was the bug. So this build error. All right. So current class name, extended class name. If not is set. What we need to do is if is Drupal namespace. This build error. Let's do is Drupal namespace. What we should do is this should actually return rule error builder. Before I get too far, let's create a new branch. Branch GitHub 284. We'll return build We need to return an array of errors. Actually, so we're doing if Drupal namespace is Drupal. Build. Let's just run this really quick. Why is this throwing an error at me? We're building the message. Our test shouldn't be broken. If you look at is Drupal namespace, is Drupal is shared. Set past is Drupal. We can say shared. Let's do public static function is Drupal core namespace. Cool. So slice, we need to do all right. Namespace name. Why is it not auto typing or auto completing? So that's why. So name. So let's do slice. Oh, so we do it by 2. So length. So it should be Drupal core. If is Drupal core. So it's always Drupal. We actually have no idea if it's knowing within Drupal core because it could be within a core module. Okay. So let's do darn. So my thought was that if we could at least check if we had a core namespace, but we might have module. Shoot. And there's no easy way to say, like, you know, like the serialization module. You can mark something internal. Process so let's all right. All right. Well, if it's a Drupal namespace, let's just start here. You know what? We will check. So is Drupal core namespace Drupal core, and we have just start with the common cases, right? Instead of trying to solve the whole thing at first, let's just go component. So this actually has some parts that are considered internal inside a component for doc parser. So it's just the annotation handler. Is we have a service that allows checking all the modules, but we don't have a way of knowing that it's inside of Drupal core, like that it's a core module. Is Drupal core namespace? Let's put this out of here. Class name. So if just start here, namespace name slice 0 to equal to Drupal core. We can say error builder equals NDU error builder build. So if we're in Drupal core, let's do error builder tip and copy how phpstan does their tips. So var source rules API class extends. Oh, okay, so it just does. So it says read the Drupal core backward compatibility and internal API policy. All right, so let's run the test. I don't know if the test extends anything from core. Extends root internal class. All right, looks like it should. No. All these fixtures. Stubs. Clean. Directory. Name, file path. Extends external class. Does not extend any. Extends internal class. That's in the same namespace. Extends external. Let's just go and do it this way. Form extends internal form PHP. Namespace Drupal phpstan fixtures form extends extends user login form, and this has been marked internal. So let's add a test for that. Extends an internal class from a non-shared namespace. But that is a stub. So that means this isn't working. Test equals, let's just do debug. So one of these has to pass this. But it didn't even get caught. Oh, wait. Dang it. That is if is not Drupal namespace, which means that I need to just put that here, right? Let's build error. That's here. Yeah, if it's not in the Drupal namespace, we build the error. If it's in the shared namespace, we skip. Otherwise, we're here, and now we should get the error. We did not. Debug. Right, so test. Oh, because it's not casted to a string. Extended class name. Extends, so it needs to be node extends. Yeah, we need to check what it extends, what its namespace is. So test is Drupal core. So if I step over and do string casting, and then debug, it should put the tip. No. Backslash. Come on now. Test equals. So this won't solve the content entity delete form perfectly, but I want to add help into there. So test is, yeah, that's right. Extends. So I want to have this as a generic, and then also handle the content entity delete form as like a specific tip. All right, there. Now we've got it. Let's do if extended class name is equal to content entity delete form. Extend class name. Get class as internal. Do else if we have tip content is internal, extend base C, we'll give it a link. All right. We need to have a test that extends this. So let's rename this to be extends content entity delete form. Extends content entity delete form, which is internal. Let's add that as a test case. Yield tip for content entity delete form. Directory fixtures Drupal modules stand source form extends. There should be an error, but I'm going to leave it empty for now. Okay, run it. All right. So non-shared. What's the error? Read. Okay. So we got 3 errors. Tear down after, test rule, analyze error messages, expected errors. How do you count for tips? Oh, tip is 2. Is 2. So that should be the tip. Let's run it. I don't know if I need to add the light bulb to the output. All right. So let's add the errors. So it's on line 7. And what was the tip? Was the tip correct? Yes. Let's just say, let's change that. So we'll say extend Drupal core. Extend it instead. See this node issue. The problem with that is deleted translation. So that's the main difference, is this handles translation deletions. Wait a second. Must be given array string given. What did I do wrong? Oh, wait. Because this is an array of arrays. All right, cool. So that passed, and I think that'll help make it more clear for folks that hit at internal. Is to read, it'll link to the core policies, and if code is being generated, it will explain that you should extend content entity form base. Let's read this issue. Delete form. This has had no traction in 2 years. Well, that's just how it's going to have to be. So let's add tips to the internal, to the extends internal class rules. Errors, rule errors, fixes 284. Yeah, I think it's just too hard to provide documentation in this project itself. Anyway, let's push and open the pull request. Create. All right. So get that pull request, and let's go through more issues. That's gonna work on add common contrib entity types for mapping. I'm going to close this. I'd rather have modules add their mappings than keep trying to maintain them here. I merged 281 and even opened an issue for paragraphs. Oh, what I failed. I didn't do phpcs. php vendor bin, phpcs, source. Class extend rule, 64. And push. All right. Issue triage, working on that. Bundle entity class support. That could be, I have an idea there, but I'm not going to work on that one. Hint type of entity access. That would be a cool return type extension. That would be a fun one to quick tackle. Once I get this pull request going, get checkout main, get new branch, GitHub 272, access return type extension. So Drupal has throughout accessible interface. Let's just pull it up. Return as object can be true or false. If it is true, it returns an access result interface. So let's create a return type extension for this. Type, right? Yeah. Type, let's do accessible return type extension PHP. I'm just going to copy namespace, a final class, accessible. Implements dynamic method return type extension stubs. To get class is return accessible interface class. Correct. Yep. Accessible. Method name needs to be access is supported method. Import this class. Return method reflection. Get name. Correct. Yep. Is equal to access. Those use statements. Delete those and okay, it does a hard import. Import. So you gotta make sure I do the right one. So phpstan or php parser. The scope is from simplify. This method signature isn't that long anymore, so let's pick it up. All right. So return type. We'll get the default return type. And if count method call, let's do, first we'll do args equals method call get args. Right, let's see. Is that what we have going on here? So if it's equal to 2, correct. So 1, 2, oh, is less than 1, 2, 3 is less than 3. So if count is less than 3, return type. So we want to return the default return type if there's less than 3. Otherwise, we return get by type. Call args 0. We know, so this way we know that there's going to be a, what's this called? Return as object. Return as arg equals scope get type. We know that there's going to be 3, so 0, 1, 2. Get type. It's a service definition. arg1 get value. Constant string type. There should be a okay. So if should be it. So if it's not a Boolean, it just bothers me that nothing is type hinted. What happens here? Turn. We'll just do if not return type, return as arg. I'm gonna rename that. Return. I'm gonna go fully return as object arg is not instance of constant Boolean type, return type. It's just annoying because I'm pretty sure somebody could pass a string to that and it would work. So if it's not there, parameters select single, get return type. We've already done that here. Now we need to do the value. If return type get that describe greater than to Boolean. Type get value. So if get value is equal to true, or actually what we could do is return type get value, return as. So if it's true, new object type else it's return, else it's new Boolean type. No constructor. All right. So this should be it. We need to register it. Extension, turn method, dynamic, return type method extension. That's resolver, static. Okay, so we'll add it after here. Accessible return type. Let's get a test going. I'll check add tips. Just quick review, build. It's good enough for me. Merge it. So test source type. Let's create a new test called accessible return type extension test. File test.php. Let's go to dynamic return types. Let's go final class accessible extends type inference test case. Use additional config straight that registers the configuration file. This data, say accessible. When you make that file accessible. And let's see. Namespace, phpstan-drupal, accessible. So, shoot, this is gonna be the hard part. I don't know it won't. Let's see, entity type manager equals Drupal. Entity type manager. Do something along the lines here. Yeah, get storage. Okay, so let's do access handler equals entity type manager get access control handler for node. And it is, and we want to do, oh, how do we include a cert type? Use function. So cert type of true. So we'll do true, or oh wait, type shouldn't just be true. False has type. Well, let's just go through it. Access handler, access null foo. Let's see if that even runs. Again, there's always this weird bug locally where I have to run it twice. All right, so it did not run as expected. With this, we expect this to have bool. So let's debug it. Because we should be hitting. Oh no. This is a completely different method. So let's go. We also need to have a dynamic return type for just going to comment that. So accessible interface, how can we just test this more easily? Access group and so let's see. I guess when let's do, okay, we'll do entity equals entity type manager, get storage, entity test, create. So we know that this basically works. Entity access add. Whoa, okay, that should trigger it because access comes from the accessible interface. Not again, didn't run, so let's debug. And see why. Oh, duh. If it has less than 3, we know that. I'm sorry. So, action result returns Boolean if false. False is default. So, returns Boolean. What we can say is if count method call get args 0. You know what? We'll just do, we don't need that. So yeah, Boolean type. War flashbacks of my first Drupal and Joomla. I can't talk. Drupal and Joomla days. Man, I don't ever want to think about Joomla again. I wrote a real estate management platform for like where my mom worked, and underestimated an MVC. I hate MVC, where it's like, oh, we have the model, then the controller just view. Like, just everything about Joomla made me like want to like crawl in a hole. Oh, yeah, that was. Although I'm feel like now it'd be a walk in the park compared to some of this stuff. But man, I just had such a horrible experience with Joomla back in the day. Now it's pre Drupal, so maybe now I would look back and be like, oh, it's the same kind of insanity. All right, so let's see. We've got this should be passing now. Cool, great. Um, no, false, true. So I have holes in my logic here that I already noticed. So this should be class. This should fail because I'm not properly checking what the wait, yeah, I am. That should pass. Test framework quit unexpectedly. Well, that's different. Let's hit play. One of these is breaking things. All right. Why are you broken? It's got to be. Was I added this? Why would this break? You have the Boolean type. Come on. Type. It's all types. Makes type. This return type. Why is it? Why is it crashing? Skip up. Scope. Asserts. So there's the asserts. Why is this breaking? So it's instantiating the tests. Deprecation. Shutdown. So shutdown. Okay. Oh, why is it breaking unexpectedly? Um, it was fine here. What did I do? So that's what broke it. It was working fine until I changed that return type to be a Boolean type. Well, now that's not even working. Why is it? Why would it be broken now? this should be correct. Why is it saying that vendor bin, PHP unit, test, source, type, accessible? Why is this crashing? Oh, it was fine here, but why is it crashing in run? Oh, all right. Oh, so I was running the first set. Okay, that's why. Yeah, so I think this is it. We've got false, true. What we should do is also handle the accessible. We need to do the. We should just handle this entity access control handler return type as well. Access handler, entity access control handler interface. We want to check access and create access. So I'll do, what do we have here? We have the come on. One of these, we have an array. Here we go. So we want to check access and create access. And field access. All right. So we'll do, let's see. How are we handling it here? So type, types, if so we'll do first if method reflection get name is equal to access. Let's do that. Else if it's create access. We don't need else if because we're going to have returns in them. So we'll do if field access. Return type. Just default the return type for each. So I need to have this interface open to read. So access has, let's do first, we'll do if count is equal to 0, return type. So that's our first safeguard. Because create access could be, actually shoot, that's not correct. Because create access can allow 0. So if it's access, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if count, we're going to be fetching the args a lot. So let's do args equals method reflection get args, get method call, get args, if count args is less than 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it's less than 4, return Boolean type. Else, let's see. We need a private function get return type from arg. Let's see, return as object get return type from. We're gonna be duplicating this logic a lot, so let's get return as object arg get return type. We'll just say return type from arg from return as object arg. We're gonna make this stupid long. So somewhere we also handle return type. Should not happen. Get service get type. No. Class dynamic. Get type. So we pass all the same items here. Service definition, get type, get object type. One. Service value. Let's do. So we'll take the. Actually, let's just take the arg. So we need the argument. Arg, and then we need scope, which would allow us to do this here. So arg value, scope, and type default return type. So we pass the default return type. So we do return. Actually, if we get to down here, it shouldn't happen, but we'll do return type. And this should be return this, get return type from args 3 scope return type. And then create access. One, 2, 3, 4. It's again the same. And field access. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's less than 5. Which I feel like what we could do is I feel like this could be simplified. You have args and then arg equals null. if the count is equal to, no, no, no. Let's just be more explicit, because that way we can handle, I don't know, this, yeah, so arg equals no. If our arguments are equal to 4, return, or we say arg equals args 3, that equals arg this, get return type arg scope default. And then actually what we can do is we don't even need this method. So if arg is equal to null, return type don't need this split anymore, so let's go so if method is access and count arg is 4, we can do the same here. If it's create access and it's equal to 4, arg equals args 3. So this is where it's good to like just work with something and then refactor as you go. It's like I created this method, but I didn't actually need it. I just needed to find out what's the appropriate argument value. And count is equal to 5. That's arg equals 4. I'm sure we could even simplify this like with a mapping of like arg placement. But let's just get the test written now. So I'm just going to do a copy and paste of access control handler. So access entity access control handler return type extension. Let's add it. Say it's that entity access control handler. The file we need to make. Close this up. File. Add. Let's copy. Entity access control handler. So what we can do is change this to be access control handler equals entity type manager. Get access control handler, and we'll just say node. And we'll do a series of tests. So access control handler, access. Let's sure do. Actually, we'll just do, let's clear this out, the values, and just pass in node create. Sure, we'll do view label. That's what it popped back up with. So that should be bool and null should also be a bool, and false and then true. So that last one should return entity access. So we got access and it's create access. So assert type bool access control handler create access. We'll do nothing and we'll say page. That should be bool null. Sorry. False. And then if we pass true, that's when it should be access result interface. And finally, field access, which is going to be a blast. Well, before I get too far, just make sure this is passing as it is. Final class. There we go. Let's run the test. And then I got to figure out how. Oh, no, I got to register it. Shoot. Sorry, I guess the internet's bombing out. Internet's bombing out again. I don't know why it keeps doing this. It's so annoying. So all right, I've got this, and I need to register the entity access control handler. Like, why is it so unstable right now? I don't understand why it dropped so hard. All right, well, let's see. I did something wrong here. Arg. Oh, shoot. This is wrong because it should be. Actually, return type, we should just have the return type always be Boolean type. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry that the internet's bombing out. I'm going to have to call. I don't want to call Spectrum, but I'm going to have to. This keeps happening and bottoming out for no reason. All right, so I need to do the same thing for field access. The problem with field access is that we need to have the operation and the field definition. So and that requires the field manager. I don't want to. Field definition. Base field definition. Oh yeah, we can just do that. So let's do field definition Okay, I'll have to upgrade my streaming schedule. Really plummeted for a bit because I have a new job, and I'm not running my schedule as much as I used to. But they're all for me streaming, so I'll have to try to come up with a better schedule, um, and get this figured out. So let's do field definition. Um, yeah, I gotta figure out what's going on with this internet because I can't believe how much it just dropped right now. Like it absolutely plummeted. This is ridiculous. The zero point 0.5 frames per second. And the worst part is it seems like it's the afternoon too. Um, so I'm gonna bail on this stream because the internet's bombed out, and it is also after time that I normally go. Thanks for hanging out while the connection was good, or watching the recording where you didn't have to worry about the internet bombing out. Um, I'll be back on Wednesday next week working on more PHP Stan Drupal. Thanks.